Hello, today we are going to start lesson 1.6 and it's all about relations and the coordinate plane and, as you can see, graphing, okay? So first let's get started with the coordinate plane system, okay? So the coordinate system or the coordinate plane. It's a plane that contains our x and y axes. So the vertical axis is called the y-axis. Okay, the horizontal axis, which is the box on the bottom right, is called the x-axis. We have what we called ordered pairs. Okay, so each point is named by an ordered pair. And that simply just states your position on the coordinate plane, okay? Each ordered pair has an x value and a y value. So the x coordinate is first, and we can put that over here. And then the y coordinate is second. So we go left to right first, and then up and down second. Okay, and that point that is at the very middle where the x and the y axis intersect is called the origin. Okay, that ordered pair is 0, 0, and like I said, it's the point where both axes meet. All right, so ordered pair, I went over this a little bit. It's a set of all numbers or coordinates written in x and y form. The x value has a specific name called the independent variable. Okay, remember what it means if you are an independent person. The dependent variable is the y value. So typically my y value will depend on my x value. Whenever we have a set of ordered pairs, so a bunch of ordered pairs that are together, that's what's called a relation. Okay, later on we're going to talk about functions. So functions are a specific type of relation that meets some type of circumstance. But for now, we're just looking at relations. Then we have what's called a mapping. A mapping is just a way to illustrate how each part of the domain is matched or paired with each element in the range. And we're going to go over domain and range. I could have also said how each element of the x value or how each x value is paired with each y value. Because domain is just your x value for your ordered pair, and then the range is your y value. So how I remember that is D comes before R in the alphabet, and X comes before Y. So D and X go together, domain and X, range and Y go together. Okay. Our first example. Okay, we're going to do a couple different things here. First, it says express this relation, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ordered pairs, as a table, a graph, and a mapping. So let's do a table first. All right, so if you remember, a table is simply an XY chart or an XY table where I state what the X and Y values are. So I'm going to take every X value, and what I like to do is put them in numerical order. So I'm going to do least to greatest. So -3 comes first. Took care of that one. And then I'm going to write its coordinating y value. That way I don't get them mixed up. And then -2, -1. Took care of that one. 0, -4 would be next. 2, -4. And then finally +4, 3. Okay, so that's the table, just putting the ordered pairs together. I can't mix and match the x values. When I put them in numerical order from least to greatest, that goes by the x value. I don't arrange the y values as well because then I've mixed up those ordered pairs. All right, for a graph, I'm going to put an xy axis in. Well, let me get that just a little bit thinner. Okay, I'm going to put an xy axis in. I'm just putting it right in the middle. Now, it is important and 100% necessary for you to put your XY axis in. Because if you do not, I do not know how your graph is oriented. I could say this right here is the origin with your X and Y value that way. or with your x and y values this way, and then all of your points would be off. So please make sure that you do list your own x, y values. All right, so now let's plot these ordered pairs. So 4, -3, that means I move 4 in the positive direction and 3 in the positive direction. Then I'm going to do left 2, down 1 for -2, 1. For -3, 2, I'm going to go left 3 and up +2. For 2, -4, I'm going to go to the right 4, or to the right 2 and down 4. And then for 0, -4, I'm not going to move left or right. I'm just going to go down 4. So there's our ordered pairs. Now, finally, our mapping. Mapping is something you might forget because it is super easy. I'm going to make 2 of them to make it easy. They're a little lopsided, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is put our numbers in here. Okay, and you can really put them in any order. But again, I'm just going to take all of my x values and put them in numerical order. Again, not necessary, but it's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'll just put them in, no, I'll do numerical order. So -3, -2, 0, 2, and 4. Now, with a mapping, your y values do not have to be in the same order, and because you're going to see how we'll match them up. So again, I will go ahead and put them in numerical order from least to greatest. So -4 is listed twice, here and here, but I only have to write it once. And then -1, then 2, then 3. So now to match these guys together, so my first ordered pair is 4, 3. So I'm going to go from 4, draw a line to 3. Then I'm going to go from -2 to -1. And then -3 to 2. So sort of like you're matching them. 2 to -4 and 0 to -4. Okay, so that's a mapping. All right, and at any point during the video, remember, you can pause it, replay it, catch up. So part B says find the domain and range from part A. So domain is just all of my x values listed, and again, we typically do it in numerical order, but it's not necessary. So it's going to be -3, -2, 0, 2, and 4. And I'll just write them here. And if you can't do those brackets, just do regular brackets. Or I could just go in the order that they gave us to them. 4, -2, -3, 2, 0. And my range is just all of my y values. That's going to be 3, -1, 2. Whoops, that 2 looks a little weird. 2, -4. And again, I do not have to list the -4 twice. All right, so I want you to take a moment, try the your turn. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do everything here all at once, and then you can come back and check. So you could pause the video, work on your own, and then come back and check. All right, for example 3, it says use the graph to the right to name an ordered pair at point E and then explain what it represents. So let's take a look. Point E is right here. So now I have to use it sort of like in language arts or ELA, where you have to figure out context clues. So we're going to look at this graph and figure out what we know. Well, first of all, we know that the name of this is the blood flow after a concussion. Okay? So then I look here on the y-axis, it's the percent of blood flow we have from 0% all the way up to 100. And then how many days? So I guess how many days it's going to take for us to get back to 100%. Okay? I'm actually going to erase that dot so that way we can see it a little bit better. So it says name the ordered pair at point E. Okay, so if I'm naming the ordered pair at point E, I'm over at 6 and at 100. So my ordered pair is 6, 100. And what that means is after 6 days from a concussion, you should have 100% blood flow. Okay, according to this chart. All right, so that's all we do. How can I look at this graph and figure out what an ordered pair would represent? There we go. All right, example 2. Again, given a graph and a scenario, what does this mean? So it says the graph represents the temperature in Mrs. Long's classroom on a winter school day. Describe, that should say what is happening in the graph. So time, no values, which is fine. Here's our temperature. So the higher, we'll just put a number here. We'll say 100 degrees, even though that's not realistic. And we'll say down here is 0. Time here is 0. Time here, we'll say we get out of school, we'll say 3 o'clock. Okay, so what happens over the course of the day? Well, first of all, my temperature starts off pretty low. Then it goes up and then down and up and then down. But it's like a consistent up and down. And at the end of the day, it goes down. So we could say the heat is off in the morning. I'll say in the morning before school starts. And then what it does is it fluctuates throughout the day. So if you have your temperature set, say, at 72, it's going to drop the temperature down this is a winter day, okay. So say you have it set at 72. It's going to heat the classroom up a little bit higher than 72, maybe like 73, 74, and then it's going to let that temperature drop just below 72, say 71 or 70, and then it'll come back on. Okay, so that's what I mean by fluctuating throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, what happens? It gets turned off. All right, so pause the video. I'm just going to talk about the your turn here in a second. I'm not going to write anything down, so pause the video, try the your turn, and then unpause it and come back and see if your answer matches mine. So it says the graph below represents Macy's speed as she swims laps in a pool. Describe what's happening in the graph. So think about someone who is swimming laps, whether you or a friend. Whenever you start, your initial speed is 0, right? Your initial time is 0, so you are right there. So then you take off. Oh my goodness, your speed goes really fast. And then once you get really fast, and then you sort of have to slow down, and then you get to 0 again. So that right there is representing 1 lap. Because when you get to that wall, your speed starts to slow down a little bit, and then eventually, even if for 1 split second, your speed is 0 when you're doing your flip, okay? You might be moving, but your speed is going back and forth at 0. So here, it would represent that she made 3 laps. So we can say she starts off at a stop, swims faster during the lap, then has to make a turn where her speed slows down to 0. And then we could say something like she made 3 laps in the pool. All right, so that's just a basic overview, because remember, we're still in Chapter 1, and Chapter 1 gives us the overview of this, so this was just your overview, refreshing your memory on how to do basic graphing.